Hey guys, I just got back from the theater from finally seeing Terminator Dark Fate. I know it's a week late. Like I said, I was on vacation last weekend, and I wasn't going to see this a couple days ago, but had stuff going on, and then by the time I had some time to go to the movie theaters, it just felt like I didn't feel like doing it. So I put it off for a couple days, and here I am, finally reviewing Terminator Dark Fate. Better late than never, right? So, full disclosure, I've probably said this before because I've reviewed. I did review Terminator Genesis when it came out in 2015, and if you want to see my review of that, it's somewhere on my YouTube page. But anyways, I am a big fan of the Terminator films. I always have been. I love Terminator. The first Terminator is one of my favorite movies of all time. I fucking love that movie. It is, in my opinion, the best sci-fi movie ever made. Fight me for it. I even am one of those people, again, this is not the most popular opinion, but I always have said I think the first one is better than Terminator 2. Everybody always says, oh, Terminator 2 is better, the better film of the two, and I'm like, nah, I disagree with you. Pretty much everybody on that one. I like Terminator 2 a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's one of the best sequels ever made. There's no fucking doubt about that. And they're both two completely different films. Like, even if they're, you know, in the same franchise, they're both completely different films. But just, I love Terminator. I could watch that. I'd rather watch that more than Terminator 2 any day of the week. I love Terminator. I am one of those few people out there, I don't really hate the other Terminator sequels from 3 to 5. I don't hate them. And even though they're not great and they don't stack up nearly as good, well as the first two, I don't hate them. And so with this one, going into this one, I had some optimism. Some. I knew going in that they were kind of just rebooting it, giving it like the recent Halloween sequel treatment, where they pretty much just ignore the sequels and and this movie's going to take place directly after Terminator 2. So I was like, okay, that's where the route they're going. They're going to try to reboot this franchise. They kept making a big deal that James Cameron was being involved in this, even though I swear to God he was involved in Terminator Genesis. Somebody in the comments tell me, I remember him being in advertisements for that fucking movie and talking about it. So he had to have, I swear his name was on it. I don't remember. I'm pretty certain, but I remember in the credits of this movie they talked about he wrote the story for this. So, and then you also had Tim Miller, the director of Deadpool, directing this. That intrigued me even more. And you had Linda Hamilton coming back, not just Schwarzenegger, Linda fucking Hamilton. I'm like, hell yeah. I've heard mixed things going into this fucking thing. I try to keep spoiler free as much as I could with this movie, and I'll be honest, I liked this movie. I did. I think it's one of the better sequels, Terminator sequels out there. I know some people have said that this is like the worst fucking thing that ever happened to the Terminator franchise. It isn't. It definitely isn't. But also, I will say this. It's very interesting in some of the places it goes. I'll say that. It's a very interesting sequel. That's all I can say about this movie. And because of that, it's entertaining, and I was pretty much entertained throughout most of it. I won't say it's perfect, but I did like it. I was entertained. I didn't hate it. I didn't regret watching it. I was entertained. I liked it. Things I liked about it. I really liked about it. The biggest thing I loved about this movie was Linda Hamilton. Linda Hamilton carries this movie like on her fucking back. She is the best. Like, as soon as she pops up, she steals every scene she's in. And she doesn't pop up really until like maybe 10, 15 minutes into this thing, really. Even though she is in the first 5 minutes. I'll talk about that in a second. But She really doesn't pop up into this movie until like 15 minutes into it. And once she's in this movie, it's her fucking movie. She's awesome. She dominates everything she's in. She is badass. This is the best reprisal of an actress like doing a character that she's most famous for since like Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween last year. She just fucking nails it out, knocks it out of the park. And honestly, I know this ain't gonna happen, but if I were a fair person and the Oscars were a fair person, she would get a fucking nomination, in my opinion. She is awesome in this movie. She fucking carries this thing. Like, I loved her in Terminator 2. I thought she was the best thing in Terminator 2. And she goddamn nails it out of the park. Hits it out of the park again with this one. Fuck, man. She's this badass, no-nonsense character that she was in the second one. And she just pulls it off so fucking well. It's like, and she is a really good actress, too. She don't just play a badass. She has some really good acting ability. And it's like, why is Linda Hamilton not in a lot more shit? I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen her in anything. It's like, she needs to be in more things. So watch this movie, I'm like, she needs to be a lot more things than this. And like I said, she carries this fucking movie. Her performance is like the best thing in this movie, as far as performances wise. And I'm not saying like the rest of the actors are bad or anything. They're good, but like when you're sharing a scene with such a powerhouse actress character as Sarah Connor, you kind of look. These characters don't look as good as they. I mean, they're not bad. Like I said, I thought the main girl, who is basically at first seems like it's going to be the Mexican version of Sarah Connor, because like pretty much as the movie was starting out, it's like, okay, so this is basically doing Terminator 1 all over again, because it's like you see the similarities in her character to Sarah Connor in the first movie, even though it's not like a complete copy and paste of the same character, but you can see the similarities, and even Sarah Connor pretty much points out like, yeah, I mean, I was in your situation too. But they give you enough. They kind of go off into different territories enough that it's different. It's not the same character, and I give them credit on that. Like, they go in different directions with that character. You also have the girl that's protecting her, who's not a Terminator, which I thought she was going into the movie. She's like this half human, half robot hybrid. Her name is Mackenzie Davis. I've seen her stuff here and there before, but not. These are both actresses I really have not seen in really much. And even the guy who plays the main Terminator that's following them, I haven't seen really in much before. This is really the first time I've seen any of these guys in a major movie, and they're fine. Like I said, they're all fine. I thought they were fine, but like I said, when you're like right next to, putting scenes with Linda Hamilton just dominates everything. I like I said, this. Oh man, this movie is kept pretty fresh. It kept my interest throughout the whole fucking thing, because I think I know where it would go in some scenarios, but then it'd throw something at me. I'll go, okay, that's different. I'm not gonna. I'll talk about one certain part in a bit, but it's. I like this movie. It's fun. This movie, I like that they tried to do something different, like I said, and like reboot the franchise. Like, they basically pretty much, like, this movie takes place, like I said, after Terminator 2 happened, and pretends the other sequels never happened. And basically, after T2 happened, Skynet was disbanded and never happened. And they stopped Judgment Day, but now there's a different form of Judgment Day that happens in the future, where something called Legion takes over, which is like and causes a cyber attack that pretty much destroys all humanity. And it's like And one part I thought was weird about that was, even though it's not Skynet and it's something else called Legion, Legion also makes the same robots that look just like Terminators, or like that Skynet did. They didn't like. I thought that was weird because Skynet and this little organization Legion that we never really find more out about, which I'm apparently thinking that they plan to give us more information about Legion in the future sequels, which are not happening now. But I found it weird that they ended up also making the exact same robots as Skynet did. I thought that was fucking weird. I was like, how the hell did they, if this is a completely different organization to Skynet, how did they develop the same kind of robots that Skynet did? I don't know, maybe they would explain that in future sequels, but again, that's not happening. If you don't know, this movie is a huge box office bomb and has pretty much killed the franchise completely. So this is going to be the last Terminator movie for a long time, which is frustrating because I am kind of interested where this movie would have gone, the series would have gone, because it's obvious watching this movie that they plan to have more films after this. And now they're not going to happen. So that sucks. Because, while I said the characters were not as interesting, I think, they could have done more with them in the sequels and made them more fleshed out, and they would have probably gotten better as the series have gone on. But, again, we're never going to get any more. That's frustrating. Well, that's one frustrating thing to think about while you're watching this movie, because they're obviously setting up sequels, and you're like, God damn it. Those are not going to happen now, so fuck. So, yeah. Also, CGI in this movie was hit and miss. There's some... I like the opening of this movie where they show, the future where the future where the Terminators have taken over, and it kind of reminded me a lot of, how it looked... It looked like some of almost opening of the first one, not as gritty, but it felt like a true Terminator opening almost. I liked how it looked. I love I think they even used some practical effects with the Terminators in some scenes. I'm not sure. Somebody can comment and tell me it looked like they did, because if they didn't in a CGI, some of the shots with the Terminators looked pretty fucking good. Looked better than most of the sequels they've done in the past few years. So I give them that. But sometimes the CGI would be all over the place. There'd be times where it looked a little too cartoony. CGI can be, like I said, all over the place. But yeah, it didn't bother me as much, but there was times where the main Terminator that's following them was scaling up a building and looked so fucking ridiculous, looked like a cartoon. Well, I guess I should get into one certain thing before I get done with this review, and I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to get into spoilers because there's something I have to talk about with this movie that just. I can't review this movie without talking about it, as it's the number one thing I was talking about as soon after the movie was over, because this movie takes some weird fucking turns that I never would have guessed in a million years the Terminator franchise would have done. So, okay, spoilers. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to talk about spoilers. Not entirely spoil the whole movie, but if you don't want to know what happens, shut this review off, go see it, and then come back, alright? Okay, you guys back? Okay. So, first off, let me talk about the first 5 minutes of this movie. That's what's been talked about more than anything. Because, if you don't know by now, in the first 5 minutes of this movie, it cuts to 3 years after Terminator 2. And John and Sarah Connor are in Guatemala, and they're living their lives, and all of a sudden a version of a younger version of Arnold Schwarzenegger. They CGI'd Arnold Schwarzenegger and also CGI'd Sarah Connor and also Edward Furlong into this fucking scene. Yeah, they did that. It's like it's fucking Linda Hamilton. Like they made Linda Hamilton look like she did in the '90s, and Edward Furlong look like he did in the '90s. And they did it also to Schwarzenegger, but it looked really weird. That was the only one that looked a little weird. But it just didn't look right. But he fucking kills John Connor. And I've heard about this ever since this movie came out. That was the only thing I got spoiled. And people are pissed about this. Which I was like, when it happened, I was like, okay, they're going a different route. I kind of knew, like, I thought it was weird when I saw the trailers for this and thinking, John Connor's not in this at all. Like, and so they explained why he's not in this at all. At least they're going in a different direction. I was fine with that. I wasn't pissed about that. Like, people were fucking like, this killed the franchise completely. Like, like, no, just shut the fuck up. So, like they're trying to do something different, right? Like, obviously I couldn't get Edward Furlong or anybody like that, so whatever. But what this movie does in the middle, like halfway through this fucking thing, is more bizarre, and I'm surprised more people aren't talking about this more than fucking that John Connor gets killed in the first 5 minutes. And I'm talking about the Schwarzenegger cameo in this fucking movie. I take it back. It's not a cameo because he has a big part in the last half of this movie. He doesn't show up until an hour into this fucking thing. Yes, he's in the first 5 minutes, but that's CGI. The modern day Schwarzenegger doesn't show up until the first hour. And they set it up where he, like, Sarah Connor's, they ask her a pretty solid question, asking her, the main characters ask her, how the hell did you find us? And she says, well, I keep getting these random texts for the last few years from some mysterious number telling me about to be in a certain location at a certain time to kill these certain Terminators that come into the past to try to stop certain things, and I do it. And she says, I don't know who this person is and why they keep contacting me. I just do it, and that's what... And so it's like supposed to be a big mystery who it is. Like, they find out the location of this person that's texting her, and I'm like, okay, it would be a surprise if I hadn't seen the fucking trailers and know that Schwarzenegger's gonna be popping up at some point in this fucking movie. Because as soon as like they say this, like making a big mystery, I'm like, it's Schwarzenegger. It's Schwarzenegger, 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 Schwarzenegger. Again, why the fuck do you spoil it so you know it's going to happen? So, guess what? It's Schwarzenegger. But that's not the weird part about this. So, fucking Schwarzenegger, he's living, okay, when they get there, he's living in a cabin in the woods in Texas. And, I'm looking this up real quick, so, hold on a sec. And he is watching, when you see him, he's watching a football game, alright? And he is the Terminator that killed John Connor in the first 5 minutes. So, and now he's an old man. And I'm not making this up. Let me try to find this. All right. He is now being called Carl. Yes, Carl. His name is Carl, and he has a family. What? I'm not making this up. I swear to God this happens. And he has a draping business. You following me? And, okay, so how does he have a family, you might ask? That might be an obvious question since he's not anatomically a human. Like, you know, he doesn't produce sperm, probably. I'm pretty certain on that. They explain that he met a woman years ago. Okay, well, let me back up. After he killed John Connor, he explains after he killed John Connor, his mission was over. And once his mission was over, he also realized that Skynet was not a thing anymore. So he just randomly started roaming the earth and started interacting with people and started to grow conscience and met a woman who had an abusive husband, and he explains all this. I'm swear to God. He meets a woman who had an abusive husband, but she ends up in a relationship with him, and she has a son, and they asked obvious questions like, they never questioned why you were 400 pounds or really heavy or what happened when you had sex. Like, we never had an intimate relationship. She just liked that I changed the diapers with no questions asked. I'm not making this up. This is something that fucking happens. So, again, let's recap. Arnold Schwarzenegger, after killing John Connor, grows a conscience, starts a family, and is living in Texas. What the fuck? I legit... Okay, when this was all unfolding, if in an hour into this movie, I just sat there, like, mouth agape, like, what am I watching? Holy shit, like, I was captivated. I wasn't, like, pissed off. I was just, like... I never expected it to go in this direction. Now, you can make the argument that they established in Terminator 2 that, like, his robot started to show... He told John Connor, I understand why you cry, or whatever, something like that, at the end of the movie. He started to, like, grow a bond with John Connor. But, again, this isn't the same robot as it was in Terminator 2. I guess you can say he can evolve, but it's still fucking weird. Like, I never would have guessed in all the movies I've sat through that this would be where this series would progress. To where the Terminator is living a family life. And there's a scene, I shit you not, where he's talking to the one girl, the main girl in this movie, where he's talking to her about how he helped select the drapes for a bedroom of a little girl and how important it was, like, they get the right color. This is an actual fucking scene in a Terminator movie. What the fuck? I was laughing. I was like... But also because Charles Schwarzenegger is awesome. He makes it work. And it's like, I couldn't... I love Arnold, but it's so fucking weird. Like, why did they go in this direction? I don't know. I couldn't stop cracking up after I was leaving the movie theater. Like, that's the only thing I kept talking about. Like... Why is everybody focusing on the John Connor death, but they're forgetting about this? Like, this is, like, way out there. I don't know, man. And his name is Carl, too. That's the best part about it. His name is Carl, and so they're like, they keep referring to him as Carl, not the T-1000 or the Terminator. They keep referring to him as Carl. Like, no, Carl! Like, what the fuck? Like, that was the best part. Like, hashtag give Carl a chance. I don't know. I love this movie. And like, for that, like, at least, man, like, I'm watching like the first hour of this movie and I'm like, this is pretty good, you know, whatever. And then that shit happens. Man, I was like, where are you going with this movie? Like, okay, now you got my interest even more. Like, what other weird shit are you gonna do throughout this thing? But man, I do recommend this movie. I liked it. It's sad that this movie didn't do well. I know people are fucking butthurt about it. It is a female empowerment movie, which people, like, fucking white males get freaked out every time there's a female empowerment movie. I'm not against it as long as it's done well. So, fuck it. Just quit being a fucking pussy and go see it. It's a good movie. I liked it. One of the better sequels, Terminator sequels, in a while. Not as good as the second one or the first one. There's no way it was going to be anyways. But, yeah, I liked it. Trailers. We got 2 new trailers. The new Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker trailer that premiered on Monday Night Football. I got that. It's Star Wars. Looking forward to it. That's all I can say about it. It's like, it's going to be awesome. they made it look like the trailer's fucking epic, and it's making this movie look like an epic finale. I'm hoping it fucking succeeds. Man, I'm crossing my fingers. It'll be good. Hopefully everybody will be more happy about this than fucking Last Jedi. I hope so. But there'll be still people who'll bitch about it no matter what. So yeah. And then the Jumanji, the next level, the new Jumanji movie. It comes out a week before Star Wars. December will be pretty fucking packed. Yeah. Looking forward to it. I like the second Jumanji. I like both Jumanji movies. I even liked the recent sequel, Welcome to the Jungle. That was a pleasant surprise. I really enjoyed the fuck out. This one has Danny DeVito and Danny Glover, so that's cool. So yeah, all right. Yeah, so that'll be fun. That's as far as trailers go. I got 4 more movies to fucking review for this week. Like November's packed with a bunch of shit. So what we got? Playing with Fire, Last Christmas, Midway, and Dr. Sleep. I'm going to try to see those all within the next week or so. And until then, I will talk to you guys later.